Hello again, everybody. Tom Pipins with you with a star of our show, John Dodds, the Packers historian. Delighted to be with you again for another edition of the Tom Pipins Show with John Dodds. You catch us at tompipins.com or the Tom Pipins Show. And also right here with our great partners at WSS, or Wisconsin Sports Stream. They are absolutely fantastic. And the Packers have been to this point. I mean, you can't argue with 3-0. We naturally are going to nitpick, but that's what we're going to do. And the rookie coach, Matt LaFleur, is he not the first Packers head coach since one Vincent Lombardi to start at 3-0? Pretty impressive, John.
He also has 3 wins, which is greater than all the first-year coaches in the NFL combined.
That is absolutely fabulous. Once again, defense drives the day. This team is giving up just 11.7 points per game. And John, what do you say about this unit? It seems to me Zadarius Smith has been great, couple of sacks. Preston Smith with 3 more turnovers. They've had 4 interceptions through the 3 games. They're a machine, and it seems as if Brian Gutekunst has had a pretty good year so far too, right? With all these free agents and some of those rookies and second-year players emerging you want to talk about.
Absolutely. First of all, 3-0, you take it and you run. But it's against 3 very good defenses. So that's one of the reasons why the Packer offense, people are worried about that. I think that's a point there. But the defense, as you talk about, pass rush in the NFL is the great deodorant. It covers up a ton of smells. And the best Packer team over the last, say, 30 years was the Reggie White 96 team. That team had 4 guys in the defensive line that could rush and create pressure, and they could drop everybody else off, and I think they gave up the fewest points that year. So that's terrific. This team has a unique, they can rush the passer, and they can cover deep. They have good cover cornerbacks, cover safeties. They have safeties that can split the field, that cover over the middle. So you have a great combination of, you have pass rush that makes Flacco throw a bad ball, which Savage intercepts, for one thing. But on the other hand, you get cover corner backs and coverage in the backfield, which causes Flacco to hold the ball, look, and now the Smith brothers have a chance. Or when they're pushing the pocket with Kenny Clark, something like that. So it's a great combination of pass rush on one hand and coverage in the back. And those are the 2 skills that you really need in the NFL in defense.
Very encouraging to see Rashawn Gary get a sack and a forced fumble. Jerry Alexander with a takeaway. You talk about the rookie Savage who plays like a veteran with the pick. It just is so encouraging. And the Smith brothers, they have 8 turnovers forced in 3 weeks. I mean, what is the identity of this defense? And John, how good is it? It was interesting that Alexander said, oh yeah, we're the best in the league. But the veteran, Tramon Williams, says usually you wait 4 weeks before you determine an identity of a defense in the National Football League.
Well, so far, the defense is they can rush the passer, they can cover. The weakness that they have is stopping the run. They did a poor job of stopping the run against Minnesota and against Denver. Mm-hmm. Now, Vic Fangio, it was interesting. He was asked, why were you able to run so successfully? And he said it was a choice made by the Packers. So I thought, well, that's an interesting comment. What do you mean? They took out a middle linebacker and they play 5 defensive backs a lot. So I think the Packer rush defense, they guard the pass first. So Raven Green being hurt probably means a little bit more than we thought, because he had that Morgan Burnett kind of hybrid position. So, but they're playing the pass first, which in the NFL, you have to stop the pass first. And then when you have Aaron Rodgers, the formula is, can you get up early? Can you prevent the other team from running? And then you have your coverage backs, and you have the pass rush, and then you have them. The trouble is, if it's a close game back and forth, the other team can run, potentially. And they didn't have Montravius Adams. He was out. Mm-hmm. They had the 2 Northwestern guys, Lancaster and Lowry, and they had a little bit of problems, but on the whole, they were okay. But the other thing is I'm struck by when I see the Packers, when they tackle and they try to get the ball. Jair Alexander stole the ball from Noah Fant. So they're coming. They're not interested in tackling. They're interested in stripping. So when you do that, sometimes the offensive player, the running back or the tight end will slip off you and get an extra 5-10 yards or whatever. That's the risk they're taking.
JD, is that something that comes from Mike Pettin and the rest of that coaching staff on the defensive side of the ball?
I think so. Another, we'll probably get into this later, Shelby Harris, the big defensive lineman from the nose tackle from Denver, I asked him about what he thought of the Packers. And when you go to the opponent locker room, if it's a North team such as the Bears and the Vikings in Detroit, it's vanilla. They won't tell you anything because there's a return game and the coach, they're very careful. But if you can get these uncommon opponents, as Mike McCarthy used to say, you can actually get some insight. So Shelby Harris said, it looks to me like the Green Bay Packers on defense found 4 or 5 guys that fit Pettin's system in the offseason, and now they fit in Amos, they fit in Savage, who's the Nick Collins kind of guy. Right. You get the Smith brothers on either side, and so and then you get King back basically from injury, knock on wood so far. So he thought that Pettin is able to absolutely run his system because Pettin is the same genius he was last year. It's just that he has better players.
That's right.
And in the NFL, it's all about talent and injuries. Yeah. That's what it comes down to. Right. With injuries, you're either exploiting somebody's injury, which the Packers did. Offensive lineman was out for Denver this week. Or you have an injury and you're trying to cover it up. So the focus is on either or. And it's very rare that you have a backup in the salary cap era that can fill in anywhere near and play anywhere near as well as the starter.
We have to switch to the offense, and of course, here we are spending all this time on the defense, and we have Aaron Rodgers at quarterback. He only has 4 touchdown passes in 3 games. As usual, he's clean, no interceptions. A friend mentioned, not a big sports aficionado, but said, Aaron Rodgers doesn't look happy. Well, I think that's true.
Right.
He's not very happy with himself as well as the offense. And I think we have to focus first on 12. I know he's adjusting. He's got the wristband, and he's looking at plays. They get off to the fast start. MVS, they got the number 2 option going, right? 99 yards and the TD. So Devontae Adams, though, they're talking about maybe he needs more targets. Is there enough talent on this offense to make this offense a force? You would expect it to improve. Will it improve enough for them to be into the Super Bowl? Let's talk first about Rodgers and then spin off that, John.
Yeah, Aaron Rodgers did not look happy during the game. You can tell by his body language. And he's to the point where when I first noticed him as a rookie and a first-year player, he would point out the mistakes of others on the field. And the veterans got a hold of him and said, hey, you got to be more poker-faced. And he did. But now he's come to the point of his career where he just can let Aaron
let it fly.
Let it fly because, what's it about? Well, LaFleur is in a tough situation up to a point. But then, like Mike McCarthy, the bottom line is you put up with this because you have Aaron Rodgers at quarterback. And I remember Mike Holmgren would wonder what Brett Favre was doing, and he'd do 3 pirouettes and throw a 70-yard bomb to Sharp for a touchdown, and Holmgren would look like a genius. So I think if you structure him, and that's what's happening now, you're structuring him, that's fine, but you have to let Aaron be Aaron. You got to make it interesting for him. You got to allow him to do audibles, and they're calling various, You just listen to the audio of the line of scrimmage. They have different keys. They're still learning it. But you got to let him get outside the pocket and make plays at times. I don't see what the big deal is in terms of getting injured outside the pocket. I think you get injured inside the pocket when it collapses on you. And if you have that threat to get outside the tackles, those defensive ends aren't coming like a house of fire. They're containing. So by having that threat to go outside, you can kill 2 birds with 1 stone. You can throw more in the pocket because your pocket, you're going to have more time because those guys the ends aren't rushing as much. But The bottom line in this is the Chicago Bears are going to make you look bad on offense. The Minnesota Vikings, the same thing. Minnesota's got all pros at all three levels of their defense. And Denver does not, but it's close. They have elite outside linebackers, 58 and 56, Chubb and Von Miller.
Mm-hmm.
But Green Bay caught them on a situation where the field was slick,
Mm-hmm.
and so everybody was slower. And so, and also Rodgers, some of his passes,
He missed a couple people, didn't he? Open.
but the ball was wet.
And it was a little bit wet. Yeah, Larry
So,
McCarron talking
yeah.
about that on the broadcast, the radio side, which you do so much for.
Yeah, no,
Our good friend Wayne Larrivee, statistics for him.
I have the privilege of doing stats for Wayne and Larry, and as Yogi Berra used to say, you can observe a lot just by watching.
Yeah.
My feeling there is I can learn a lot just by listening.
Yeah.
Just be quiet, listen, what's happening. Wow, that's an interesting perspective. And both of those guys, Larrivee and McCarron,
They're
go to
pros, aren't they?
They go to
Yes,
practices,
yeah.
so you get the inside.
Yeah,
They'll throw
absolutely.
whatever they can in there subtly.
Yeah. We've talked about another option offensively before, John. Again, are they talented enough? Is it time to get Robert Tonyan, some were speculating, more involved at tight end? Jimmy Graham, to his credit, even with the big money they're paying him, is going out there, but he's banged up. He has the finger going. He's a knee, hamstring, whatever all else. And they're talking about trying to get him involved and plays for him. But if you're that good, I mean, you should just go out there and do what you do. Would you rather see Tonyan get a little bit more involved?
Well, one of the things that you could tell by Aaron Rodgers' body language is he threw a bomb to Tonyan that was just out of his reach on the goal line. It was about a 50-yard play. And when they replayed the route that Tonyan ran, Tonyan went down and he pulled up and he looked and then started again. And if he would have continued, he would have caught the ball and it would have been a long touchdown. He caught the long touchdown at Seattle last year. When I think at the Packers, I have to believe that Gutekunst is looking at last year and seeing what the Dallas Cowboys did. They traded a high draft pick for Amari Cooper, who became a franchise player, became available from the Oakland Raiders. So NFL seasons are very interesting. Right about mid-season, people are being fired. They're disappointing. They're looking for the draft. They're trying to dump cap money for the next year. It's going to be interesting to see if there's going to be a good player.
Will Goody make a move? Yeah, wasn't Larry on the broadcast talking about, hey, you know what, Denver off to an 0-3 start, the only team in the league at this stage to lose all three, I believe. Emmanuel Sanders,
good
receiver for Denver.
But the one thing about wide receivers, you talk about quarterback divas. Wide receiver is 1A, and you have to be real careful because can you imagine Antonio Brown? Antonio Brown playing, say 3 years ago or whatever, would be ideal for the Packers. Right. But he couldn't make. There's some issues there. You're going to have issues. Ron Wolf made the absolute great move in '96 with Andre Rison.
Mm-hmm. Andre Rison. And as Pat Summerall, the late great one, said in the Super Bowl.
Yeah, if you remember that one, he got cut by Jacksonville, and the Packers had one of their great teams since '62 on offense until Antonio Freeman broke his wrist, Robert Brooks blew his knee, and Chamorro hurt his calf. So all of a sudden, Keith Jackson gets double teamed, and Desmond Howard and Don Beebe are great third and fourth wide receivers, but not 1 and 2. So the Packers lost down in Dallas. It was 21-6, and there was no offense whatsoever by the Packers. I think they scored a late touchdown. And Holmgren in his press conference was asked, hey, did you know that Andre Rison was just cut today by Jacksonville? And his response was, Andre Rison just got cut? You're kidding me. Andre Rison here? No, I don't think that would fit. But meanwhile, in the back of the room was Ron Wolf. And Ron Wolf was like, looking around seeing, I see this Super Bowl contending team going down the drain because we don't have any wide receivers. he had the cap managed in such a way where he could pick up Risen before he freed up on all waivers. So he could just accept his contract and take him. And they didn't lose a game after that. I think they went 6 or 7-0 after that and won, and then Freeman came
Great
back,
pickup.
and the rest was history. That's what I'm looking for, I think, this year.
So you wouldn't be surprised if Booty says, all right, listen, we're in contention here, but our offense as currently constructed is probably not Super Bowl caliber. So I'm going to go out and get it. I'm going to make hay while the going is good.
Well,
it would make sense, wouldn't it? And again, they're 3-0. It's early. We're still in September as we speak here. But you see the possibilities, and it's encouraging.
Well, the exciting thing for Packer fans would be the offense is probably at 50% right now, and they're 3-0. And that could build, assuming there are no injuries. They've had injuries, but to the players you can most easily replace. Now, Lane Taylor got replaced by the rookie Jenkins, and he was terrific, I thought, in his first game. Made some mistakes.
Little edgy at times. Yeah, he said he wasn't going to be nervous, but he had the heart had to be going, right? I mean, my goodness.
But he didn't take any guff, and Denver's physical, and he would give that extra. Rich Morano used to do that, and Josh Sitton. He'd give him that little extra, and then they're kind of mad or whatever.
Absolutely.
I thought I lost my microphone, but
it's all good. It's a family show. We're good to go.
It's all good. But
what else might you want to share as we round third and head for home? Because in our next segment, we're going to look ahead to the 1-2 Philadelphia Eagles, who have had injury issues and what have you. Just maybe an observation, something you'd like to leave our friends with here.
The observation is optimism if this injury situation continues the way it is, where other teams seem to be more injured than the Packers. Philadelphia seems to be more injured coming in. Denver had some key injuries. Exploit those injuries rather than, it seems like the last 3 years the Packers have had offensive tackles or cornerbacks where other teams were exploiting them. Yeah. The Packers are stepping on the accelerator, exploiting those weaknesses. But the young players, the draft looks like it was outstanding because Rashard Griffith, as you said, had a sack, recovered a fumble, and with his hand down, really
Rashawn Gary, right? Rashard Griffith. I think I saw him in Madison at the Badgers win over Michigan. That's the only reason I caught that is because I'm looking, is that Rashard Griffith? And you say it's very easy to put all that together. That's
oh my
beautiful.
Goodness! Well,
he wouldn't be bad either, maybe as a DN.
That's right. Well, that's E1 if you're scoring with us at home.
This man does everything, ladies and gentlemen, and unlike me, he has a real job. John Dodds, always a pleasure. You are the Packers historian and the key to this podcast. I'm Tom Pippins. Catch us at The Tom Pippins Show or TomPippins.com. Also right here with our great friends at Wisconsin Sports Stream. Next up, Thursday night, short turnaround, the Eagles. We'll talk about them. Stay with us.